Welcome back to Divorce Den, everyone. Today we're going to talk about attorney fees. Specifically, we're going to talk about how can you save money on attorney fees when you're getting divorced in New York, or honestly, if you're getting divorced anywhere. If you know anyone who's gotten divorced, I'm sure they've told you how much time it took, but specifically how much money it cost them. It's notorious for being a very expensive process to the point where sometimes people have to take out loans. They're in severe debt after getting divorced just from paying for the actual process of the divorce. I'm not even talking about when you have to pay out your significant other for whatever you owe them from the divorce. I'm talking about the actual process, the professionals, the attorneys, the court fees, sometimes the financial forensics, all of it. It costs a lot of money. So today I'm going to try to give you, as succinctly as possible, 7 strategies to help you save money specifically on attorney fees when you're getting divorced. The number one pointer is you have to choose the right professional to work with. Now, that's easier said than done sometimes. I understand that. And when you're ready to get divorced, you sometimes feel the pull and the need to just go in, hire an attorney, and get moving. But the truth is, sometimes this is the point where you need to take a step back and start to strategize and plan and make sure that you choose the right attorney. Now, you're never going to know 100% if the attorney that you choose is the right one. Is attorney A better than attorney B? More experienced than attorney C? Maybe the better fit than the next one. Again, you really have to take your time and assess and meet with these professionals in advance. That's how you're going to make your decision. That's why taking your time at the beginning to have consultations and learn about those professionals, that's really vital. That's the thing that's going to save you a lot of time and money down the road. So part of choosing that right professional is having consultations, having an actual conversation, a meeting, whether it's via Zoom, whether it's in their office or on the telephone. Have a consultation with that attorney. Make sure that you're looking up their online presence, their reviews, talking to other people, whether they came as a referral or whether you can read the reviews online, but make sure that you see what other people's experience has been and then have your own consultation. You want to make sure that you talk to them about your case. They don't need to know every detail, but you want to talk to them generally about your case and what their interpretation is. What kind of feedback are they giving you? What kind of vibes are they giving you? Are they promising you the world? Are they telling you that they're going to be very measured in the way they do things when you maybe want things done a little bit more aggressively? All of these things need to be kept in mind. But the most important thing is that you feel like you can work well with this attorney. Don't forget, you're going to be sharing a lot of intimate details with them, whether it is about your personal life, your financial life, things regarding your children, your house, everything. So you have to feel comfortable opening up to this attorney and really being honest with them. Another thing you want to make sure that you speak to the attorney about is their fee structure, right? You need to know that this attorney charges this way and maybe another attorney charges a different way. But don't get caught up in cost or pricing alone. So if one attorney is charging significantly less than another attorney, but you feel better with the second attorney as far as their competency, how closely you can work together, how comfortable you are with them, please keep that in mind. The initial cost savings sometimes does not actually save you that much money. So just think about that down the road, that if one attorney is charging a lot less than others, there might be a reason for that. Keep in mind that some attorneys will charge for a consultation, meaning that even just to have a meeting with them, there might be some initial consultation fee, and some attorneys offer free consultations. Don't be swayed and don't be frightened off just because an attorney charges a fee for a consultation. When you pay a professional a consultation fee, that means that now you have a little bit more vested in it. Every attorney practices a little differently, so some of them offer that free consultation and some of them don't. The ones who charge oftentimes give you a lot more of their time and energy and a lot more thought and maybe even some strategy into how your case might go forward. I'm not saying they're going to give you legal advice, because generally an attorney cannot do that unless they are actually your attorney, unless you've retained them. But during a consultation that's paid, I do find that attorneys are able to take a step back and take a little bit more time assessing your situation and giving you a little bit more guidance. Some other professionals that you might think about hiring when you're going through a divorce is a divorce coach or a mental health professional. And I know, I can hear it already. People are going to say, I'm not hiring somebody else. As it is, I have to get money up for my divorce attorney. I understand that. And I fully respect that. However, what I will say is that from doing this for as many years as I've been doing it and speaking to so many of my colleagues who have been doing it even longer, a lot of times, because divorce is such an emotional time, people often use their divorce attorney as a pseudo therapist. They come in and start giving stories about how their spouse did this wrong and did that wrong, how they were hurt about this or that, and how long the relationship has really been deteriorating. And they give a lot of information and a lot of backstory that is meaningful to them. And I'm not taking that away. It's very meaningful. However, when it comes to the actual divorce strategy, when it comes to how we can help you legally, it sometimes doesn't matter. That might sound harsh to hear, but the truth of the matter is those types of stories and emotions and things that you need to work through are better done, and your money is better spent if you're doing it with a divorce coach, if you're doing it with your individual therapist. Using your divorce attorney as a therapist is really counterintuitive. It just costs you more money. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't help your case. So I highly, highly suggest that you at least interview with divorce coaches in your area or mental health professionals for individual therapy or both. Tip number 2 is be prepared. Be as prepared as you can. When people come into a divorce attorney's office, sometimes they're so emotionally overwhelmed, and that's completely understandable. But just know that there will be certain things that are going to be required, whether it's financial documents, whether it's tax returns, whether it's coming up with a parenting plan, whether it's the deed for the house, or if it's just giving specific dates when certain things happened. Make sure that you have all of that in advance. The more that you can have up front and provide your attorney, the more time and money that's going to save. Also, you having some clear sense of direction as to where you want your case to go, whether it's a roadmap that you've created, an agenda, things that are really important to you that you want to get through, having all of that in advance and showing it to your divorce attorney or maybe even your divorce coach, that can save a lot of time, because there might be things that your divorce attorney sees and says, these are all very important, but we're not able to do one before the other. This strategy might work better. With all of my years of experience, I see the benefits in your plan, and I also see some of the pitfalls. Let's discuss them. But you having that up front, that can save a lot of time and money. Tip number 3 would be to limit your communication with your attorney to only the necessary communications. Like I stated before, a lot of times people come in feeling so overwhelmed and they start literally trauma dumping on their attorney, putting everything out there, all of the intimate details of the relationship that the attorney might not necessarily need. Some of it might be important, and that's fine. But if you give a long diatribe to your attorney, whether it's on the phone or via email, your attorney is going to charge you for every time that they're reading that, processing it, digesting it, putting that information into their notes, into their internal system. That costs money. So when I say limit your communication, you don't want to cut off any communication. You don't want to withhold anything from your attorney. Things are very important as far as specific information that they might need. But when it comes to using them as therapists, try to limit that. And in addition to that, sometimes jumping on the phone might not necessarily be the best use of your time. Thinking about what you want to say, the facts, the information, putting everything together maybe in a timeline, giving that to your attorney in a writing, whether it's an email or if you prefer to draft a letter, put all of that together and then send that to your attorney. Because now you've done all of the thinking ahead of time and you've put it all down on paper, and now you've sent it to your attorney. Now your attorney can take that information, save it right in there, and they can now digest what's important as far as that communication. Make sure that you're keeping track of these communications with your attorney, and just make sure that you're limiting it to the things that are really important to your case, including when your attorney asks you for something. If they ask you for something very specific, I need X, Y, and Z, and then you come back and say, well, I can't give you X, Y, and Z because of all of these other things that happened, and you go into a story about why you can't get that for a half an hour, again, your attorney has to charge you for that. That's not going to get you any closer to providing X, Y, and Z to your attorney. You can let them know I don't have it, and they might be able to give you some guidance on how you can get it. whether it is going to the bank yourself, whether it's issuing subpoenas, whether it's going to the county clerk, no matter what, try to be succinct in your communications and let them know why you can't get certain things. Tip number 4, stay as organized as possible. When you're coming into a divorce attorney, there are a million things that you think that you might need, and maybe there are a million things that are needed. Sometimes you have to get all of the bank statements, retirement accounts, maybe wills that you have, whether it's the deed to the house. No matter what you have to get, it's a lot. It can be very overwhelming. So make sure that you take all of these documents and you save them in either a digital file, print them and put them in a physical file, but just make sure that you have them all in one spot and make sure that they're all organized. Whether you put tabs on them or you, again, scan them in and save them as, bank statements from Bank of America, bank statements from the credit union, retirement accounts from this union. Whatever it is, make sure that you have them all as organized as possible. And as much as you can, try to digitize these documents so that you can share them with your attorney in a much more concise manner. Again, it's going to cost money if you give a stack of documents to your attorney and they have to scan them. So try to save yourself time and money that way, keeping everything organized, keeping it in one digital folder, and then sharing it with your attorney as needed. Tip number 5, I alluded to this earlier, but it's about billing and fee structure and how it is that you're going to be charged. When you're talking to your attorney, make sure that you fully understand what their hourly rate is, how they're going to be charging you, when you're going to be receiving invoices, and make sure that the lines of communication are open. I'm not talking about nickel and diming an attorney. If you continue to do that to nickel and dime attorney, I don't know many of them that are going to continue to work with you at their highest level. And I'm not saying that you don't have the right to ask about those things. You certainly do, and you should. But what I'm saying is that if every time you send a communication to your attorney, you see that you're billed for it, you're going to be billed for it. We take our time to help you with your case. That's something that we charge for. It's really important that when you receive your invoice from your attorney, that you're reviewing it immediately. You open it up, you look at it, and you make sure that all of the charges that are on there from the previous billing period, they're all accurate. If you have any questions about them, make sure, again, that you're very open and transparent with your attorney. I have concerns about this, this, and this. I don't remember us having a conversation, or I accidentally got overbilled. Your attorney is there to work for you and work with you. They want you to bring up any billing inconsistencies because we're human just like anyone else, and sometimes we might put something in twice. Maybe sometimes we got something wrong, and that is not a problem. You just need to bring it up to them. And the truth is, sometimes seeing the invoices and seeing how much time that you're spending with your attorney on certain things, that might be a little bit eye-opening. You might say, oh, wow, I had that 2-hour meeting with my attorney and I found it very helpful. But when I see on my bill how much that costs, that might give you a little pause as to next time when you want to communicate with your attorney and talk to them about all of the details. And then you realize that might cost me a little bit more than I thought. Tip number 6 is make sure that you're thinking about trying as much as possible to avoid unnecessary litigation. When you're in court, sometimes there are things you can't avoid. If the court sets forth certain dates where you have to comply with something, you have to comply with it. If they say you have to show up at court on a certain date, well, then you have to show up there. And if they push things out a month, 2 months, 3 months sometimes, depending on the court's calendar, well, then that's what has to happen. What I'm talking about is unnecessary litigation. If you know that you only have 2 bank accounts, but you're going to start sending subpoenas to every bank in the area for your spouse because you just want to try to do a gotcha, or you just want to try to drag this out, just know that's going to cost a lot of time and a lot of money. Your attorney has to do a lot of work for that. So seeing the end game down the road and trying to avoid that unnecessary litigation, it's really important. And if you hear anyone else in your circle, any of the professionals you're working with, talking about litigation, make sure that you're asking why. Why do we need to continue in that litigation model? And if it's a legitimate reason, then absolutely. Again, you need to rely on the professionals who you're working with. But if it seems like it's something that is more than is necessary, express those concerns for sure. Try as much as possible to avoid staying in court and litigating and litigating and litigating. It's going to be very, very expensive if you do that. And finally, tip number 7 on how you can save in attorney fees. Do not go to court. Stay out of court when it comes to getting divorced. The court system is not made to really help families. What it's made to do is resolve conflicts that you cannot resolve. If you can't resolve them, that's fine. Use professionals who can without having a judge who doesn't know you and doesn't know your family make decisions. I believe that divorce mediation and the collaborative divorce process can help every divorcing couple out there. It really can. When you start doing your research when it comes to getting divorced, as far as professionals are concerned, start doing any of these consultations with collaboratively trained divorce professionals or mediation trained professionals. Speak to them specifically about ways that that can help you, either one of those processes, to keep you out of court, to save you time, to save you money, and to save you emotional resources. A common misconception that people have about divorce mediation or the collaborative process is that they're not necessarily protected the way they are in court. That is absolutely not true. It's not. If you work with experienced and seasoned professionals, specifically your attorneys, you're going to have protections put into your agreement that will be filed with the court and will become a court order. You still have the protections of a court order, but you don't have to go through all of the months and honestly sometimes years of divorce litigation and jump through all of the hoops that the court dictates. You get to set the pace, you get to make the decisions here, and you get to ensure that you're controlling the attorney fees, not somebody else. So remember, when you're thinking about getting divorced and you're in the planning stages, start thinking about ways that you can control the process and some of the fees that are involved in the process. Thanks for tuning into Divorce Den, and we'll see you next time.